Hi, I am back with another week of my adventures in Microsoft Azure and my virtual machine working with Active Directory this week. And before I even go inside my virtual machine, obviously you see a page where it says virtual machine has failed to start. Error allocation failed. We do not have sufficient capacity for the requested VM size in this zone. And so I got to thinking, well, what do I do? Well, after some research, I decided to email my professor and also go to this website. And the best I could come up with was just to wait. And so I had lunch. I came back and it worked. And so now that we are in my virtual machine, as we can see up here, we are in Active Directory. We've gone to users and computers and have added a bunch of OUs and users. And here are OUs that we have added. The ones above employees are all ones that come in a brand new domain Active Directory. So the ones I created are employees, HR, IT, management, research, stakeholders, accounting, and auditors. And in each one, I've added users to signify where they go, and then I have created in Files Explorer a mother folder called Promised Land and subfolders correlating to those OUs that I have created. And in the subfolders of the Promised Land, I have assigned users and assigned permissions. For example, Sarah is assigned to HR, and in the HR folder, she has permission for full control, meaning she can read, she can write, she can modify, she can do whatever she needs to for everything in that folder. And Murdo has the same thing, but in the IT folder in the IT OU. Now, before I continue, I have a little story of Ted and Phil. Some users are going to actually, I'll just head over to them right now. So, as you can see, Ted and Phil, they look like normal. They're in the research folder. They both have the modify permissions, and they're in the research OU. Normal, right? Well, before I got to this point, if you don't have the folder highlighted and you right click and you hit properties, it's going to take you to the properties of the promised land or the mother folder of whatever folder you're in. And so I've added them to modify the promised land folder. Well, because I did that and because of how these type of things work, the sorry, um, here I'll show you an example. So if I were to go to networking class and under week 5, go to properties, we could see that I am full control. Now, if I go to advanced, we can see that I inherited my control from me being the admin of this computer. Well, Ted and Phil had been put into every single folder in the promised land because each folder inherited them from the promised land. And so after figuring out I did that, I'm so glad that there's an advanced button to tell me where I inherited them from. I removed them from the promised land and added them to the research to modify. And so now that I got that sorted out, we can go back to Pearl, Janine, and Frank. Each of them only have the ability to read and write in the management folder. As you can tell, they're in the management OU. Oh, went too far. And so they can't do too much. Ted and Phil, they can modify, but they don't have full control, meaning they can't add special permissions. Next up, we got Dean, Spencer, and Tim. Each of them are in the stakeholders OU within the stake and are in the stakeholders folder of the promised land. And each of them have the ability to modify this folder. Next up, we got Stephen and Guy, who are in accounting, and they both also have the ability to modify the accounting folder inside the promised land. Next up, we got Sally and Bruce. They are auditors, and they have full control of the auditors folder inside the promised land. And that is my adventures in Active Directory and Microsoft Azure this week. Thank you for watching.